So yeah, I had a run-in with the police when I was like in my early 20s. It was not my fault. And I know you're probably gonna be like, yeah, sure. But this time really wasn't my fault. What is up, back? Dave Confused. What's going on? I'm Dave and I'm still confused. And today I'm going to tell you a little story about when I had a little bit of a run-in with the the police. Let's just put something on the table right now. I have no problem with the police. I have no problem with any profession per se. I think there's good people that do it and there's bad people that do it. And that is literally with every job in the world. Yeah, I have no issue with the police. It was an issue with this one person. I never even got his name, badge number, whatever. But, you know, it was a story. It's a story. So I think I was like 24, 25 at the time. Oh my God, that makes me feel so old. And I was driving home after, I think I was out with my friends. And I think we played like video games or something. Like, it's not like we were up to no good or whatever. Yeah. And there was a ride program. A ride program is basically when police set up on either sides of the road and just kind of look and be like, hey, how's it going? How's your night going? And just trying to find people that maybe shouldn't be driving for whatever reason. And I've been through these 10,000 times, right? Like, I've been driving since I was 17. So a ride program is nothing new to me and I had nothing to hide. So I come up to the ride program and the police says, hey, how's it going? How's your night going? And I'm like, yeah, it's not bad. I was just hanging out with my friends, playing some video games on my way home. This is like 11 at night, right? And he says to me, oh, I kind of smell something on your breath. And I said, yeah, oh, I'm just drinking an energy drink. And I showed him the energy drink that I was drinking. And he's like, oh, I've never seen one of those before. And I'm thinking to myself, like, what? You've never seen an energy drink before? Are you kidding? So I just kind of said to him, yeah, I am drinking an energy drink, just, you know, so I can make it home. I'm a little tired. And he's like, it kind of smells like alcohol. So I politely said to him, it is definitely not alcohol. I can give you the drink if you want. Like, here. And he said, do you think you can pull over and step out of the vehicle? So in my head, I was like, what is going on? Like, I've given him no signs whatsoever to even remotely think for a second that I was doing something I wasn't supposed to be doing. So I pulled over and I got out of the vehicle. And he said, you know, I have to be honest, that smells like booze on your breath. And I was like, sir, I'm a dialysis patient. I don't drink very often. Like, barely ever do I drink. And I can definitely assure you, I was not drinking tonight. And that's the only drink that I've had, which is an energy drink. And he's like, would you do a breathalyzer? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, whatever makes this process go quicker. He pulls out the little breathalyzer, and it's got this little tube, and he's like, I'm gonna put it in your mouth and you're gonna breathe into the tube for 5-6 seconds straight. And I was like, no problem. So he puts the tube in my mouth and I blow, and then it comes up 0.000, like nothing on my breath at all. So he looks at it and looks at me and looks at it and looks at me, and he's like, I don't think this is working. Let's do a different one. And I was like, it's your thing. It's not like you got the breathalyzer from my car. I didn't bring it with me. This is your thing, right? So he goes and gets another breathalyzer, like a different one, and makes me do it again. Again, it comes up 0.000. So at this point, I'm just like, oh, dude, like, clearly I'm not drinking. I'm not drunk. This is crazy. It's not like you pulled me over swerving or something. This is a ride program. I drove through willingly. knowing I was gonna talk to a police officer, right? So then he's like, I'll be right back. And I see him go into his car and he's typing on the computer and everything. And I think he put my license plate in, so he knows who I am. And he can see on my record, I think I had like a speeding ticket at the time that was like 9 over or something. So I like paid $50 and was like done with it. Like, no points. That's the only thing I had on my record forever. And he comes back and he says to me, yeah, we can't find you in this system. And I'm like, I'm not in this system. I have no record of anything, right? And so he's like, do you have your license? So I give him my license and he goes back to the computer. And then he comes back and he's like, oh, squeaky clean, huh? Nothing on the record. And I'm like, that's what I told you. I didn't do anything here, right? Another police officer car pulls in, right? And I didn't think anything of it because I figured they were just doing the ride program. But then another cop walks out and he's talking to the other guy about me. And he's like, did you search his car? Did you search his vehicle? And I'm thinking, what is going on? Like, what is happening here? So they're like, do we have permission to search your vehicle? And I said, yeah, absolutely. Like, go for it. And at the time, I was living with my wife, but girlfriend at the time, right? And I was like, she's got a bunch of stuff in there. I have a bunch of stuff in there. Like, go for it. I mean, search away. They immediately go to my trunk and start pulling everything out of my trunk. I was in a band at the time, so I had like a guitar case in there. I had a bunch of like strings, a bunch of like guitar straps. They're pulling everything out. My wife had a bunch of like work clothes in there and shoes and everything. Like, they're pulling everything out of my trunk. And they're going through everything. So I'm sitting there like I know they're not gonna find anything because I don't have anything in there. So eventually they go through everything and then they say, oh yeah, you can put all the stuff back now. I have to put the stuff back in my trunk. So I start loading it back in my trunk and I'm looking at the guys and they're kind of chatting, like whispering, like, and I'm saying to myself, like, this isn't good for me. Like, if they want to get me for something, even if I don't have it, they can do that. My word against theirs, right? So they come back and approach me after I've closed down my trunk. And I was wearing a shirt kind of like this where my chest tattoo was showing and I had my sleeves rolled up, so like my Batman tattoo was showing, right? And then they say, where did you get your tattoo? And they point to my chest. And I said, oh, it was an artist in like Cooksound. And he's like, oh, we've seen a similar tattoo. And I was kind of like, oh, it's a song lyric written in script. Script is a very popular font for tattoos. And he's like, does it have anything to do with being in a gang? And I'm like, what? Being in a gang? I was like, my man, I go home and I play video games with my wife. I don't, being in a gang. My man, I listen to Bon Jovi. Like, I'm the furthest, if I was in a gang, I would be the worst gang member of all time. Like, gangs would be like paying other gangs to take me because they're like, this guy's the worst. He's the worst. I'm so lazy. Like, I would be the worst gang member of all time. So then I say to him, no, it has nothing to do with a gang. It's a song lyric that I got years ago. I think it was like 2 years at this time that I had this tattoo, or a year or something. Anyway, it was fully healed and everything. And I'm like, the other tattoo is Batman. Batman. What gang do you know requires a Batman tattoo? A Batman tattoo. Oh yeah, I'm in that gang, the Brotherhood of Batman gang. You know, we're a big deal. A huge deal. So they go back and talk amongst themselves, and I'm leaning against the car, kind of freaking out in my head, like, what is going on? Like, this is just a ride program, and I've been searched, I've been breathalyzed twice, and I've been asked if I'm in a gang. Am I being punked? Is this a joke? Is this a practical joke? Like, I don't understand what's happening. And so another police cruiser pulls up. There's now 4 or 5 police cars surrounding me, right? And I'm looking at the road, and all the other cops are letting people go in the ride program. They're not pulling over anybody else except me. So then this other cop approaches, and he's got like a much different uniform than the other guys, right? I believe he was like a higher ranking policeman. He was up in the ranks. These guys were in like the mid-range, I guess. This guy's the higher up, right? That's just what I assumed. And he walks up to them, and he's just kind of discussing stuff with them, and he's shaking his head, yeah. And he walks over to me, and he's like, hey, I'm so-and-so, and I shake his hand, and he's like, hey man, what's going on? And I'm like, honestly, sir, I have no idea. This is what I was drinking, and I showed him the energy drink, which, by the way, rhymes with snonster, conster. I don't know if I can say it, but in a scary movie, you check under your bed for, that's the energy drink that I was drinking. And I gave it to him. I was like, this is what I was drinking. You can smell it, you can do whatever. He thought it could be alcohol. You can read the can, there's no alcohol in this. He said he's never seen it before. I don't know how that's possible. They checked my trunk, they ripped everything apart. I had to put it back, right? I was just like, I don't know what's going on, sir. Like, I just want to go home. And he's like, all right, cool. And he gives the drink back to me. And he goes up to the other guys, and I see him, and I can lip read a little bit, right? And he's kind of like, you're wasting this guy's time. This is ridiculous. He's like, this is not what we're here to do. And the other guys are trying to speak, and the higher end cop's just like, no, don't talk. And he's like chastising them for bugging me. And so literally, he just kind of looks over at me from like where they're standing, and he gives me like a, all right, and he walks away. The other 2 officers walk back, hand me back my license, and are like, yeah, you're free to go. And I was kind of like, what is this all about, man? He's like, we're just taking precautions about who's driving tonight. And I said, I see that, but why was I pulled over? Like, why was I chosen? And he's like, have a good night, sir. And just walk, the 2 of them just walk away. And I'm standing there like, I'm still thinking that I could be pranked. Like, this is like, they're gonna turn around and be like, your buddy Nathan set you up. This camera's here, this camera's there. That didn't happen. And so literally, I just got in my car and drove away. Like I don't understand why I was picked from all these people passing. They were like, this guy looks like he deals meth on the side. He's in his garage cooking meth on the weekend. This guy. He's drinking vodka for breakfast. This guy. Check him out. Like, what? My man, I go home and I watch Disney movies. Like, I'm the furthest thing from what you guys are looking for. But you don't listen to nobody. You don't listen to anybody. After that, I just got in my car and I drove home. And ever since then, every time I go through a ride program, I get like nervous. I'm just kind of like, oh, what's gonna happen this time? You know what I mean? But you know what? Like I said, I don't have a problem with the police. It's literally, there's just kind of ignorant people in every profession, right? I will never rip down a profession. There's just good people at it and there's bad people at it. And I think this particular cop was not a great cop. Needless to say, I went home that night and never saw this cop again. So, if you're watching, sir, I had an awful time at your ride program. Okay? I had an awful time. Anyway, thank you for tuning in to Dave's Confused. I super appreciate it. Alright, Confused Army, you know what time it is. It's time for me to put one of you on blast, and that one is Stacey Evans. Thank you for commenting about your favorite scary movies. You know I always appreciate hearing from you guys. Keep watching, keep commenting. I really appreciate it. Well, that is it. Thank you so much for tuning in on my story about me and the Popo. You know what I mean? So, you know, leave in the comments if you had a weird moment with an officer of the law. Why not? And I guess I'll see you next video. Alright? At least our dogs aren't werewolves.